This episode of the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour is sponsored by the law offices of Alfred Guillaume III, a boutique criminal defense firm located in Washington, D.C. The firm specializes in defending federal criminal cases. You can learn more about the firm by visiting our website at guillaumelaw.com. That's GUILLAUME law.com. Welcome to part 2 of my interview with Meredith Jolivert, Vice President and General Counsel of Politico, an international news organization. Meredith knows her music. When she was growing up, her mother was a record executive and her father was a jazz musician. And the icing on the cake, she loves hip-hop. Not only does she love hip-hop, she knows hip-hop. Get ready to be entertained. We are going all the way in on this interview. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Welcome back to the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour. I'm here with my friend, attorney Meredith Jolivert. I just love saying your last name.
Thank you for pronouncing it so beautifully.
Oh, no, my father would be upset if I did not, because I am Alfred Guillaume, as we all know.
Yes, yes.
And before we talk about music, I just want to, I didn't say it in the other piece, but I thought that we had a Louisiana connection because of our French last names.
Yeah.
But it's a Haitian connection.
Correct. My husband is Haitian.
And my folks are from Louisiana.
Yeah.
But, you know, we are similar in culture and also in proximity, Haiti and New Orleans.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm African American. I just married well.
Right.
And
I did too.
Yes, amen. And so I got the last name Jolivert from that. But my maiden name is May, just like the month. So.
That's right. Well, Meredith May Jolivert.
Yes.
You are a New Yorker by birth.
Yeah.
New Jersey raised.
Yeah.
Hip hop expert.
I don't know about expert,
yes,
but
expert.
Certainly have strong feelings and thoughts.
So I would love to get into the music that you have chosen from the crates.
Sure.
Before I do, I just want to emphasize again that I've never brought out the second additional crate that we have in the office, and we change up the records from time to time. Because you have so many cool connections, personal connections to some of this music. I would love to actually, even though this is the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour, the folks that are looking will see behind you there's 2 records that are not hip hop records.
Correct.
Miles Davis, Kind of Blue, which is my favorite jazz album of all time.
Yep.
Hands down. Maybe there's, as soon as I said that now, I thought about A Love Supreme by John Coltrane, perhaps. It's 1 and 1. You know?
Okay.
And then another even cooler connection is the record right next to it, which is Dizzy's Party by the famous Dizzy Gillespie.
Yes.
Can you talk about those records and your connection to them before we even start talking about hip hop?
Sure.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So my father was a bassist, left-handed bassist, jazz musician. Wow. He played straight ahead jazz. He played with the greats. He played with Dizzy Gillespie. He played with John Coltrane.
He played with them.
Yes.
He was in the bands with them.
Yes, yes. He was in the original Billy Taylor trio. He's on John Coltrane and the Jazz Giants. He is, his name was Earl May.
Earl May.
And so I grew up and knew Dizzy Gillespie.
And you saw the records and you were like, I had no idea of your connection. And you said, oh, wow.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I grew up listening to jazz. The, Kind of Blue was probably the first jazz album I listened to that didn't feature my dad.
Wow.
And
so your dad was a legitimate.
Oh yeah, he's got a big discography. Yeah, if you just
jazz musician,
Google Earl May bassist,
greatest,
and you will.
And he is one of the greatest.
Yes, 100%, 100, just profound, right? And so
that's so cool.
So yeah,
for lack of a better term.
Yeah. And so as a kid, I would go to jazz clubs as a baby and as a young person.
In New York.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And on tour and all kinds of stuff, with him. And just met some incredible people. Phyllis Hyman, all kinds of people like that. Hyman. Absolutely. And so, and he has had 2 albums of his own. He was, the front man for the Gloria Lynn, with Gloria Lynn as well. And so
the music runs deep in your blood.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And your mom was an executive at Sony Music.
Yeah, she sure was.
So when we had the vinyl records, when Meredith saw the vinyl records, she says, we have thousands upon thousands of vinyl records. Yeah. I said, well, how is that possible? Oh, yeah. Because of your mother.
100%. Wow. 100%.
So you're listening to these things. Your dad is a musician.
Yes, and have met just incredible people like, I met George Michael. I did the conga with Gloria Estefan.
Oh gosh, it's the songs of my youth.
Kinds of
Who doesn't remember these songs?
Really crazy experiences that were, and the exposure to all kinds of music, exactly. Right? So everyone from Sting and the Police. I love the Police. James Taylor.
James Taylor, right? Another one.
All of these really incredible artists, and Michael Jackson, and
absolutely.
Just real
musicians. Meet Michael Jackson?
So no, my mom many times.
Wow.
But I saw him perform. I saw the Jackson.
Perform.
Oh yeah.
You see the Jackson 5 perform?
Yes, the Jackson's Victory Tour.
Wow. Yes. My wife went to that concert as a child. I didn't go.
That's amazing. It was
talks
amazing.
About that still.
100%. 100%. Wow. So I met all kinds of just really interesting people, and
you met some of my idols.
Yeah.
Musical idols.
Yeah. Super cool.
And I had no idea. That's amazing.
Yeah. But so it's been really interesting and amazing.
What a life, huh?
Yeah.
What a musical life.
Yeah, what a musical, and to want to be a lawyer, why, right?
Well, hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But we are here, of course, on the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour.
Yep.
And as the title suggests, we're here to discuss hip hop.
Yeah.
And the first two albums that you chose, without hesitation, because I say, look through the albums, let me know what you like, we'll talk about them, were Little Kim's Hardcore, which was released in 1996, and Queen Latifah's debut album, All Hail the Queen, released shortly before that.
Yes.
Can you explain your connection to those albums?
Sure. So, I think, I was talking to my husband about our sort of top 5.
Before we begin that, give me your top 5. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, men and women, right? Like, so I put them in separate categories. Women are,
who you got?
I would say, number...
Not even in order, because order is hard if you don't want to do order, but
But, right. So I would say top 5, Lil' Kim, Lauryn Hill, Queen Latifah, Missy Elliott, MC Lyte.
Right, those are solid choices, and I don't know that I would have any different. I never thought about it. Definitely Lyte and Lauryn. Lauryn is my number 1. I say it all the time.
100%. I think the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is my top album.
It's one of the most
in the world.
Right. It's one of the most important albums in the history of albums.
Correct.
Recent 1998. That album is just I say
game changer.
And also you look right behind you'll see on the podcast you'll see a picture of the beautiful Lauryn Hill.
Yes. Amen.
So for me it's Lauryn.
Yes.
It's number 1.
Yes.
And then it's definitely Lyte, MC Lyte.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Yeah.
And from there I don't know. Missy
it's
Elliott
hard, right?
Is right there.
But you think about how these women changed the rap game, right? Like, so Queen Latifah, I think, is just profound, right? Her messaging.
Right.
I think when you think about the way that she presented herself, right? When you think about what hip hop, how women were viewed in hip hop at the time.
Exactly.
And what she did and how she established herself as a queen, how she talked about Black women being queens. Mm-hmm. She has a beautiful singing voice, right? Yeah. I think she really blended. She was the precursor to Lauryn Hill.
Yeah, you don't hear people talk about that a lot.
But you think about it, right? She really is
She's a talented actress as well.
Triple threat.
Right.
Without question, right? Without question. And I think when you think about that, right? Lauryn Hill was the same, right? Sister Act. She did,
and people give Lauryn Hill the knock they have on Lauryn Hill is because she's singing. Like they're holding against the fact that she has this wonderful singing voice. But have they ever listened to? I had an argument the other day.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? Even recently, right? With Nas, she did.
On Nas's, I can't think of the name of the song. Right, the King's Disease album. That was a great verse.
Yeah.
And I had an argument with someone the other day who said that she wasn't an all-time great and wasn't even the greatest woman.
What?
Yeah, he's a little, he's a New York guy. I love him, but he's not. Okay. Everybody can't be right all the time.
Right. And Lil' Kim, obviously polar opposite to Queen Latifah, right? But when you think about when I think about Biggie, I think about Lil' Kim.
Right.
Right. And I don't think you can think about the top 5 male hip hop artists and not think about Biggie. And when you think about somebody,
who's your top 5 male? Who you got?
So
that's a harder choice.
I would say, right? But so I would say I'm gonna go in no particular order.
No particular order, because that's really
right,
hard.
because that is hard. I'm gonna put Q-Tip in the top 5.
No,
right.
Native tongues represent.
Yes, I'm gonna put Biggie in the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put Nas in the top 5.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna put LL in the top 5.
LL. It's so good to hear you say that.
People can't, but I mean,
people
when
don't
you
give LL enough credit.
Rock the Bells, come on
and
through.
Great.
You
we'll
can't.
See, we also chose LL Cool J's debut album, Radio.
Yeah. 100%. And when you think about hype songs like Mama
Right.
Say Knock You Out, you think about the things that we need to do to hype ourselves up, to come into the rooms
Right.
that we're in to
get
like
hype.
display that Black excellence, right?
Right.
You think like all of the words here pour into you, pour life into you,
Right.
to let you know that you are Black excellence. Like this is where it all comes from.
It's in our culture.
It is.
And these artists are expressing it.
Correct.
For the world to hear.
Correct. Yasin Bey, right?
Bey,
you think about
right.
Mos Def.
Mos Def.
Yes.
One of Brooklyn's finest MCs.
100%. And Jay-Z.
And Jay-Z. So have we gotten to our 5? Or
It's probably like 8.
Right. So those are all.
I can't. Right.
Right. All solid
5.
choices.
Yeah.
And 2 of the names, people, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas, people always say those guys.
Always.
So they're in everybody's list, and rightly so.
Yeah.
But you don't always hear LL. You don't always hear Q-Tip.
Right.
And especially Q-Tip. That's interesting that you chose Q-Tip.
But I don't think. I mean, I don't.
And
really,
it's a great choice.
I mean,
but I've never heard anybody say that.
Really, I don't, because so. I mean, Tribe is it. If you watch this
podcast, I'm a Tribe
Tribe
guy.
is it, right?
Tribe and Woo.
But when you think about Q-Tip individually, right? He had a post-Tribe career.
Absolutely. He's
right?
the only one, really.
And he is. And when you think about, I mean, his flow, when you think about his voice,
right.
You think about the impact,
his
lyrics.
Yes. Right. That's what I mean. That in that era, that even now, as it should be, in my opinion, lyrics are be the number one. That's what makes you quote unquote good.
Correct. And when you think about it, right, if you sat there and just read his lyrics, they would be profound.
They are profound, as are LL's. And
yes.
And LL writes. MC Light, who I love, and Self-Destruction, he famously, that's her most iconic verse.
Yes.
He wrote that verse.
Yes. And so, like, right, when you think about the foundation, like we talked when I was going through the crates about the 80s, right? And I talked about even the Beastie Boys and Run DMC, right?
Yeah, there was those albums in there as well.
Right, and that was sort of my introduction to hip-hop, right? But then LL was right, he was right there.
Right. LL was, I think this album was in 85. I want to say the first album.
Right. I graduated in 86, right? And I thought, that Rock the Bells is the first thing that I think about when I think about. But Mr. Smith, that's probably my favorite LL album, right?
It's a great album. And LL has had a lot of albums. And people seem to forget. Because now in the latter stages of
he's an
actor.
Right. It's like Ludacris. People don't even know Ludacris was a rapper.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. So are you a Ludacris fan?
I am.
Yeah.
I am. I have a funny story about
Okay, go ahead.
Ludacris.
Let's go.
My mom grew up in Mount Vernon. And
shout out to Mount Vernon.
Denzel
Washington's from Mount Vernon, I want to say, right?
Right, yes. Right. And so she grew up, and her high school boyfriend was Ludacris's uncle. Okay. Now, obviously, Ludacris was not born at the time. But what's so funny is my mom was telling my daughters that story. And so my oldest was like, "You mean Ludacris could be our cousin?" And I was like, no, because she married my father instead.
Right.
But that is like, so now whenever my 17-year-old hears Ludacris, she's like,
oh, cousin.
Exactly. That's kind of a running joke.
Yeah, so Ludacris is a guy who came out in the early 2000s. Yeah. And, I appreciated Ludacris later on. When I was living in the moment, he had a great song. I always liked him, and I always liked his voice.
Yeah.
But he's part of that Atlanta resurgence in hip hop.
For sure.
And I know I've said it before and been accused of being a little bit biased, being a little East Coast biased. But
I'm very East Coast biased. But I mean, I can recognize talent, right?
Absolutely. And certain people in the South I love, like Outkast, for example.
Sure.
I think this is one of my all-time favorite groups.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, I definitely respect. And Ludacris had some bops.
No, Ludacris was extremely successful. He was a radio DJ, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so his voice, I mean, it's...
and his lyrics too.
Right.
Some are really, really, really profound and deep. But yeah, I mean, and then but when you think about like the foundation of hip hop, right? I think that's what we're talking about here.
So let's go back just a tad.
Yeah.
You talked about the fact that you graduated in '86, and I know I know you probably wear this with the badge of honor, that you are 50 years old.
I am.
Right.
Yes.
You are as old as the music.
I am.
Which is
50
amazing.
years of Meredith and 50 years of hip hop. Yep.
Exactly. So you have a license to talk about hip hop, okay?
Yeah.
More than most people.
Yeah.
Myself included, although I'm right behind you. What are your earliest memories of, like, when did you fall in love with hip hop?
I would say I probably fell in love in the 90s, and it was Biggie and Lil' Kim.
The 90s are my favorite era.
I would say 100%. Like, the music was profound. Like Busta Rhymes.
Right.
Yes. Right. I mean, I think there are a lot of people.
The new school.
Yes. And then you think like early 90s, you think of like even people like Special Ed, Kwame.
Oh, right.
Right. We had a whole Poor Righteous Teachers, Arrested Development. Right. We had a lot of those groups people may not be not familiar with the music, may not be aware of. Right. But that was really like Black Thought, right? You think about sort of how Black Thought emerged and really...
Right, and they were very conscious rappers, like an X-Clan.
Yes.
You know, those Poor Righteous Teachers, X-Clan, Arrested Development, all those could be categorized in the same vein, as well as like even Public Enemy.
Yes, 100%.
With their
absolutely.
Terminator X.
KRS-One, right?
KRS-One, right.
100%.
All those folks are together. And Queen Latifah is kind of an extension of that as well.
Correct.
Yes. But the difference with Latifah...
and Naughty by Nature, you think about, right? Now, Naughty by Nature was a little more on the bop side, sweet, salt and pepper style, which is still
also
great.
From Jersey.
Great music, 100%.
Right. MC Tretch, right?
Yes.
But yeah, Queen Latifah kind of was that bridge between those, because those artists didn't really find mainstream success.
Correct.
The Poor Righteous Teachers. I mean, I love the Arrested Development, Tennessee.
Yes. Me too.
But they didn't find as much mainstream success. But Latifah, in her association with Native Tongues, and Tribe, obviously, is the breakout group, and De La Soul,
and De La Soul, of course,
but had all those elements.
And
which is my favorite era as well as the 90s.
Yeah, the 90s. So and I don't think we've had anything since. I don't
we
think
haven't.
We ever
we don't sound like a bunch of old guys sitting around saying, "Oh, that's not like it used to be."
I mean, but when you think about it, most people listen to that right now.
Even still, like if you go to New York right now,
correct,
and you go to any restaurant, bar, club that's playing music, you're going to hear music from that era.
Of course.
And that's
Wu-Tang.
A lot.
You can't.
It's undeniable, and they should never stop playing it.
Correct. I agree.
It's funny. I'm sure it's probably the same in your house, but my kids are very familiar with hip hop. There's music that their contemporaries are not. But I'm playing it all the time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, well, you're right. I mean, my kids go to a French school, so for sure their contemporaries are not.
But their parents may not be playing, like, listen to this Wu-Tang.
No. So that's true. That is true. But yeah, I mean, they know good music.
Right. Good music is good music no matter when it's made. And it lasts forever.
Yeah.
And if it's good, it's going to last forever.
Correct.
Now, I want to ask you a little bit about the hardcore album, Lil' Kim's first album.
Yeah.
And, you spoke a lot about Latifah and her positivity and her pro-black stance.
Of course.
And you see on the record cover, there's a picture of Africa, right?
Yes.
But Lil' Kim is not that way.
Polar opposite.
So let's take a look at this record.
Polar opposite, yes, indeed.
In this album, it's not the same.
No, it's not. It's not the same at all.
So how do you... I'm not going to use the word justify because I love Kim as well.
Right.
But we actually talked off camera about Kim and your thoughts about her. I'd love for you to share that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that there is strength in many ways, right? Mm-hmm. I think Black women are incredibly dynamic, and we should not only celebrate one kind, one way of showing up in the world, right? We are multidimensional people.
Exactly.
And when you think about like all of the contemporary rappers right now are modeling themselves after Lil Kim.
Right. And most famously Nicki Minaj, who's very talented.
Correct.
But Nicki Minaj's persona is no denying that it comes from Kim.
100%. Cardi B, again, you know, for better or for worse, success or not, right? But you are thinking
Kim
about
laid
she laid the groundwork, right? And you're not seeing people who are emulating, you know, Missy or MC Lyte in the same way at all.
That's a very good point. I never thought about it like that.
Right? And so it's like, I can't deny. And then the other thing is, like, think about who could actually keep up with Biggie's flow. Right. And in my view, Lil Kim's the only one that really matched him. Him.
His verse, he's on here on the song Drugs.
Yes.
And I can't remember the name of the other song. I know my hip hop. Don't pull my hip hop card. But he has a verse on the other.
Wasn't he on Crush on You too?
His vocals might have been.
Right. Yes.
But he has a. You know what? We're just gonna edit that out. That I couldn't remember the name of the song.
It's all good.
But it's all good. We don't have to edit out because my hip hop card is strong.
No, but I mean,
I
think we have to think about and give people props. And again, the other thing is she was incredibly strong, but also feminine, sexual, all the things, right?
And she didn't shy away from sex.
She didn't.
Sex is a part of life. We wouldn't be here.
Correct.
It is life. We wouldn't be here without sex.
That's exactly right. So
to shy away from it.
Right. And she owned it in a way. And I think that, again, you know, when you think about the variability and how people have really tried to replicate her, right? And I think that she was, like, formidable, right?
She's formidable, right?
Without question.
And her whole flow.
Yes.
Yes. It couldn't really be copied. I mean, I think Nicki Minaj has developed her own flow.
Correct, but it can't be copied. I haven't seen anybody.
I think initially she started out maybe trying to sound like Kim, and that's not to bash Nicki Minaj at all. No. She's extremely talented,
of course.
And I think I said to you a moment ago off camera that Nicki Minaj is more successful than Kim by being Kim, right? It's kind of ironic.
It is,
and she's obviously got her own.
But she was
style.
ahead of the. She was ahead
of the game, mm-hmm. And you know, Nicki Minaj is lucky to have benefited from someone like Kim, and it's not about. This one's better than that one, and she's copying her.
Yeah.
You know, we should celebrate everybody.
We should, and we should recognize that is this variability and this ability to recognize the greatness in all of these pieces, right? Because these songs all speak to you at different times in your life in different ways for different reasons, right? And so being multidimensional, I think is what makes the world go round, and being a woman that can recognize the greatness in a variety of spaces and show up in a variety of different spaces is also critical.
Now, you mentioned, I'm going to ask you, I wouldn't ask this question to most people, but you are a musical person.
Sure.
You mentioned Miseducation of Lauryn Hill as being one of the top.
That's my top album
of all time.
Of all time. It is.
Now,
cover to cover.
We're talking just albums, period, of all time.
Yeah.
I don't even want your top 5. What would be your top 3 albums of all time?
Oh my goodness.
It's hard. Hip hop or otherwise?
Hip hop.
Because it's so important.
Otherwise.
Right. It's so important. Or you can make it all hip hop. It doesn't matter. No.
Interesting.
Because it's so important. I think this transcends hip hop.
I agree.
I know. I don't want to put you on the spot. But
No, that's okay. That's okay. So I'm gonna say definitely Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
And
for sure.
Folks choose this when they come in here and they see that album. I think almost every guest has ever chosen. Sometimes I have to tell the guests, you don't want to choose another album.
Right. No, but I mean, I think for sure, I'm gonna go with Michael Jackson's Off the Wall.
Off the Wall.
I am.
Okay, that's number 2.
It is number 2. And this is, I mean.
And this is that was released in 1979.
Yes. And everybody says Thriller, but it's really Off the Wall for me. That was the. Look at this. Come through. I knew all the words. Wow. Every one of these songs.
What's your favorite song on Off the Wall?
Oh man, Rock With You probably.
Yeah, that's
Rock With You.
Not a bad choice. There's no wrong answer again.
There's no wrong answer. So then I think I might go with like D'Angelo, actually.
Which one?
I think his first.
That's my favorite as well.
I think his first.
I've never heard anyone say D'Angelo as his first album. It's a great album.
Cover to cover, right? When you think about, and when I think about Brown variability.
Sugar, the albums, I think it was like 94, 95.
You know what I mean? But it's like when you think about like a soundtrack, you can put this in and you can go and every single song is going to resonate hit you. Right,
D'Angelo
a certain
is
way.
On the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. There's a song they do together.
Absolutely. So that's where I'm going to go. Wow. My top three.
Top three.
Yeah.
That's an eclectic.
It is. It is. We could go to The Police, Synchronicity.
Oh, I love that album. I love The Police.
Which is a phenomenal. I think Kind of Blue.
Oh, Kind of Blue, right. It's the perfect jazz album. And maybe the perfect album. John Coltrane.
Yeah.
Miles Davis.
Yeah.
I want to say Max Roach is on the drums on that album.
But that's what I'm thinking. Cover to cover, perfection.
I would like to move on to another artist who you told me was not your favorite growing up or as a young person, but because of your husband, you have inherited his love for this artist.
For Nas,
and that is Nas. And you chose his, in my opinion, a perfect album.
Correct.
Illmatic.
Yeah.
At in 94.
So we went to one night at Madison Square Garden. That was we went for my husband's birthday. Nas is a storyteller. He's someone storyteller. Who my favorite song is really One Mic. Right. It's about it's perfection to me. So I've learned to appreciate Nas, right? It ain't hard to tell. There are a lot of great representing.
Mike is contacted.
Yes, yes. We went to see Nas and Damian Marley. I thought that was a great album.
Okay, yeah, I remember that album.
We were in Central Park and saw them live. That was a fantastic concert.
Right. What's the best? You've been to a lot of concerts in your life. What's the best hip hop? I'm not even going to say limited to hip hop. What's the best hip hop concert you've ever been to?
So I would say probably Jay-Z.
Okay. When and where did you see him?
I saw him at Capitol Arena. It was a Verizon Center back then.
In D.C.
It was a hype fest.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Like I like being in a space.
I see there's a common theme we're going back to.
There really is, right? Because I think that's so important, right? You have to put on your game face. You have to get ready.
Let's go
to meet the day, right? It's go time.
Let's go.
That's
why I like Rocky so much.
Yes, well, so it's so funny because when the kids were little,
Stallone, my main man, Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed from New Orleans. Yo, Mr. T, where you at, babe?
But it's true, when my kids were little, my husband would say, what time is it? Sleepy time. Whoop. He would do that, right? So we're into...
Right, you are a hype family.
Yes, we really
Your
are.
Family
you got to meet the day. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So that was amazing. I also saw, I would say one of my top 5 concerts is actually a Belgian rapper named Stromae.
Oh, wow. I've never heard.
He is so good, so interesting.
How do you spell
a musician?
Stromae?
It's Stromae.
Okay.
He was at Anthem. He is Kanye West. Was collaborated with him on a really popular song in Europe called Alors on danse. We're gonna dance together.
I know that song.
Okay, so that's Stromae.
That's that artist.
Yes, that's Stromae.
I remember that song.
Yeah, exactly. It's a real, and it's a good bop.
Yeah.
And he's really deep. And his lyrics are in French.
Right.
But
Jolivert.
Yes, yeah. But really impactful. And that concert, the CGI and with all of the musicianship that was there was phenomenal.
Now, you saw that here or overseas?
Here, and at the Anthem.
Okay.
At the Anthem.
Okay, you said that, right.
Yeah, and it was phenomenal. Last Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
And Kanye was with him? No, he's by himself. Okay.
Kanye was not.
He was not there. We're not going to talk about Kanye.
I have not seen Kanye perform. That's another one that my husband loves. He has not been able to convert me.
Right.
His first album, Kanye's first album was a great album. Mm-hmm. I cannot deny his genius.
College Dropout.
Right. Without question. Without question. Yeah, Jesus Walks was incredible, right?
Yeah. Late Registration.
Yes,
was his sophomore album.
It's just so sad. We talk about sad. Kanye, when I think about Kanye, I think about sad.
Right.
You know? And so I can't just disconnect.
Right. It's hard sometimes.
You know, the current space.
Yeah.
You know, he's in.
That's hard.
Musically though, you know, for sure he's a genius.
Yeah.
You know.
And
so
speaking of genius.
Yes.
We've talked a little bit about our guy, but another
Notorious
album
B.I.G.
that you chose.
Correct.
In your top 5.
Yes.
Is the debut album from the Notorious B.I.G.
Yes.
Biggie Smalls.
Correct.
Ready to Die.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite track on this album?
Oh.
It's hard. This is another one that's... the album, but I'll let you take a chance to think about that and just say that the album for me, it's one of my... I bought this album at the same time I bought a lot of other albums. Illmatic. I mean, I bought all these classics. I went Into the 36 Chambers by Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
All at once. We had actually... It's a sad story, but it's a happy story at the end of the day, because here I am. We had a house fire, and we lost a lot of stuff, but we had insurance money, and we got our house rebuilt and everything. Everybody was fine. Nobody was hurt. This is many years ago.
Yeah.
But we had insurance money. So
yes,
I was able to buy lots of CDs at the time.
Nice.
So I remember going into, I want to say it was Best Buy, maybe. I don't remember what store, but I'm going to say it was Best Buy. And buying all these albums at the same time.
Yes. Tower Records.
Right. All the time. We had Tower Records. Right. I was shout out to Tower Records. I haven't heard that in a while. Yeah, right. But I went to, this was in Best Buy, I want to say.
Yeah.
And I bought all this at once. Like everything that was out at the time, stuff that I had known about but didn't own. So I had all of these records, and this was one of them. And I remember I used to listen to this, like many other records, over and over again.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget that. I mean, I bought them all these classic albums at once.
Yes. When I think about Biggie, his lyrics, like what he's saying,
right,
are not necessarily relatable. Those things are not, like Who Shot Ya is probably...
Separate the weak from the obsolete. Hard to creep the Brooklyn streets. It's on.
Yes.
All that liquor and beef, right?
Yes. So that's
he's talking
probably...
about stalking somebody.
He is, right? And that's probably the... And again, it doesn't resonate personally in any way.
You can't relate to it, but it sounds
at the
good.
Same, but at the same time, like the brilliance, in that, you know, what he is saying and what he lived is profound.
And this album, you know, it's kind of I'm gonna say it's a dual. Themes in the album, because there's like the party side, Big Papa, and
Juicy, exactly,
and then there's this gritty, rough street
suicidal
side,
thoughts,
and the suicidal thought side. Then there's that
Warning,
side, right?
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, we you know, yeah.
You know, I thought I had my answer to the question. But now that we said a couple of times, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like,
right. You have to go back and listen again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with. Well, I'm gonna let you say what's your favorite track.
I think it's Who Shot Ya.
Okay.
I think it is, but again, I mean, I would say unlike some of the others, right? When I think about, you know, Yasin Bey, right? I would say like Umi says. I would say Mr. Nigga. Right, Mr. Nigga is a profound song. That is a profound song, right? So I think about things that actually resonated with me, right? When I think about Lauryn Hill, when there's songs that actually affect me, and I think about
Biggie. It may not affect you that way, but
they're still listening to them and thinking about what he's talking about and how he lived and how so many people lived.
Right. I'm gonna go with Warning.
Okay.
For me.
Yeah. I mean,
that's paging me at 5:46 in the morning, crack of dawn. And you mentioned Yasin Bey.
Yes.
Also known as Mos Def.
Yes.
Who is one of my personal favorites. And you chose his debut album, 1999's Black on Both Sides.
Yeah.
And you've already said what your favorite songs, some of them are. Umi Says, which is a ode to his grandmother,
Yes. So beautiful.
It is. And the beat is just I mean, takes you to another place.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I'm going to give you one that I've never heard anybody say but me.
Okay.
And let me know what you think. If you like the song as well. Speed Law. Do you know that song?
Oh,
it's about kind of a sped up song.
Yeah.
And for me, that song, it just showcases his lyricism.
Okay.
Unlike
Correct.
any other song on this album to me. I mean, he's an amazing lyricist.
He is.
And I wish he had more records, but sometimes it's better when you have a like Lauryn Hill, you have a smaller sample size.
Right.
Because for whatever reason they don't make more records. But for me, Speed Law is not as well known as some others, but it's just his lyrics are on full display.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite. And then also I noticed that you did not put the Black Star album, which was
right.
I saw you looking at it.
Yeah. But
you didn't pick it.
No.
Shout out to Talib Kweli, his partner in crime.
Right, 100%. Who is also in his own right.
Right. So he's a great artist.
Yes.
One of my faves. And they're part of that movement in the early 2000s where that conscious rap, right?
Yes.
That in Common. We talked about Common.
Yes.
Right.
100%.
You saw the album. The album we have in the studio is the album B.
Yeah.
And you were saying how that's when you really start to take notice of Common.
Yes.
And he was 100%. At his most, I think, purest form, I think.
I agree.
In that time frame.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. And he also, I think I love how Common raps, but he talks how he raps.
Right.
I don't love to listen to him talk.
Right.
I don't. It works, and he's really deep. I mean,
he's deep.
Yes. Freestyle. I mean, it's amazing. I've heard him before, and it's like amazing.
Right. He's really a poet.
He is.
He's in the vein of Gil Scott-Heron.
Yes.
And that vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, Common he's my. That album, B, is probably my favorite Common album. But right behind it is the Finding Forever album, which is released a couple years later. The samples, I'm a big sample person.
Yeah. Okay.
The samples on both of those records are some of my favorite songs, period. And Mos Def has some great samples as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
Meredith, I know you have to go, and I don't want to keep you here, make you late for your next appointment.
No worries.
But I want to end on perhaps one of the most important albums in the history of hip hop. Not perhaps, one of the most important albums, which is The Low End Theory by Tribe Called Quest. Can you just talk about this album and what it means to you?
Yeah. So I would say folks often think about Midnight Marauders when they think about Tribe.
That's what people pick when they come in here. They pick the Midnight Marauders.
But this is really the album that took me into my love of hip hop. Right? That is, when you think about like Scenario, Bugging Out, when you think, that is when I actually I knew all the words. That's when when I was, right? And that tape, I wore it out. Tape out. I wore it out. It was like, popped, kind of the tape popped.
Put the tape on to repair it.
Exactly,
roll it back up.
Exactly. Roll it back with a pen.
Yes.
It was like that. You know what I mean? And it was this. Check the Rhyme. I mean, they're just so many.
Check the Rhyme's got a great Minnie Riperton sample.
Yes. Yes.
Just love.
Yeah.
Before you go, actually, that wasn't the last question. I wanted one more thing.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
Of course.
When we recently had a launch party for the Lori's Hip Hop Happy Hour. I'm so glad you were able to attend.
Yes, thank you.
The first thing you said to me, I don't remember actually how we started talking about it, was the MCs from particular boroughs of New York City.
Yes.
And who wins the battle of
which
borough wins the battle of best MCs? So we have, for those who may not be as familiar with New York, we have Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, and the Bronx.
Correct. The Boogie Down.
The Boogie Down.
We haven't even talked really about the Boogie Down in great detail, right? But you think about like folks, there's the
birthplace of hip hop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out to Kool Herc.
Yes.
And all the forefathers of hip hop.
Right. And then you think about even folks like Swiss Beats, right?
Is he from the Bronx?
Swiss Beats from the Bronx.
I never knew where he was from. I knew he was from New York, but I didn't know what.
No, Swiss Beats from the Bronx.
Oh, wow.
You think about all of the like Fat Joe, Big Pun, right? Whatever, like. The Bronx holds its own now, still.
Right. KRS-One.
KRS-One,
right.
100%, 100%.
But which borough wins the battle? Okay, can we eliminate anybody? Can we just off top?
Staten Island. We eliminated Staten Island. I know.
Wu-Tang.
I know.
It's Wu, and I get it, but it's Wu.
I get it.
Wu-Tang is so important.
But it's not. But it's a singular, right? And when you think about like Brooklyn, you think about Queens. I'm gonna go with Queens.
We're gonna go with Queens.
I'm gonna go with Queens.
Okay, we have Nas.
LL. We have LL. Yeah.
Tribe Called Quest.
Correct.
Run DMC.
Correct.
Okay, and the
I'm
list
going
goes
with
on.
Queens. I'm gonna go with Queens.
But not Brooklyn.
No.
Jay-Z.
I know.
Biggie.
I know.
Mos Def.
I get it.
Lil Kim.
Correct. Queens.
Queens.
I'm going with Queens. Dad grew up in Jamaica, Queens. My mother-in-law lives in Flushing, Queens. Okay, Queens. Shout out to Queens.
Shout out to Queens. And if you had to go number 2, you're going to go Brooklyn?
Correct.
And then who gets the last spot in New York City? The last spot of the 5 boroughs we're going to do top 3. Who gets the last spot? You've got Manhattan. You've got Staten Island. And you've got...
That's it.
Wait.
Right, didn't we?
Do we do?
Brooklyn, Queens.
That's why I was good in math, because I couldn't remember how many I used, and then I couldn't do the subtraction in my head fast enough. You know what? I don't know the answer to that question. Forget it. I became a lawyer for a reason.
Queens and Brooklyn.
Queens and Brooklyn. Shout out to Queens.
Boogie down, the Bronx.
Boogie down. Yeah, let's just throw the Bronx in there. All right, good job. Throw the Bronx in there. We love it. Shout out to Dave Cooney in the Bronx.
Yes.
Yeah. Meredith, thank you so much for
coming
on. I had a wonderful time talking with you.
Me too.
Hopefully you will come back.
Anytime.
I would love to talk more hip-hop and other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's been an honor. It's been great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour. Make sure you listen to part 1 of the interview and catch up on all past episodes by subscribing to the podcast, which is available everywhere, including Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. New episodes are released on the 12th of each month. And if you'd like to see the video version of an interview, that can be found on my YouTube page at the Lawyers Hip Hop Happy Hour. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you on the B-side.